Okay, hopefully we're going live. I'm going to give that another go. Hopefully this link works. Let's just make sure on all the respective channels. Let's have a quick look. Let's have a quick look. I think we are all good. I think we're live. So it's working on YouTube. Let's just make sure it's working on Facebook. Still showing the old one. Why is that then? Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. For some reason, I think it's because Facebook is trying to take you to the old link. So that's not a problem. What I'm going to do is let's have a look. Right, let's have a look if this is coming out for some reason. Let's just edit that. Right, I'm going to redo it. Okay, let's go. Whoop. There we go. If not, what we're going to do is we're going to carry on, and we're going to give it one little minute.
Is this one recording?
Pardon?
Is this one recording?
Yes, yeah. Okay, we're live now. We're live while we faff about with the internet, and we
faff around with the internet.
Yeah, I do not know why it's done that, but nonetheless, let's just give it a go. Let's see what happens. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my link on Facebook. So we're definitely live. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to post it. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're all good. It's happening. So we're on Facebook. Excellent. We're on YouTube. All right. We're good. Okay, people are trickling in. Excellent. All right. Apologies, everybody. I do not know what happened now. I'm going to be honest. I have no clue. It was live on Facebook and live on YouTube, but nonetheless. So whilst people are coming in, welcome to day 2 of the Mindset Matters series. That is running all this week. So yesterday we covered planning, and hopefully you've had a chance to access the planning ebook or the worksheet. So some of you have had issues. Hopefully those issues have been resolved. So a little thing that you can do if you're still trying to access the planning ebook or worksheet, and you've received the if you've gone to my Facebook or my Instagram and you've selected it or requested it, I should say that way. That was hard to find you. Glad you're here, Kath. Thank you for persevering. Welcome. So for those of you that are trying to access the planning ebook, if you go through the comments or the responses, the DM messages, the private messages I've sent you, go back to where it says request the workbook, and you should be prompted. What basically happened is my website was updated. That through the process out of the loop. It's now all sorted, so it should work really effectively. So thank you for those of you with patience. Hopefully we're going to have people joining us on Facebook and on we should be live on Facebook and Instagram. Let's just make sure. Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah, we are.
So yeah, excellent. People are joining. Fabulous. Good. Okay, trickling in. Excellent. So tonight's conversation is about carrying the theme about confidence, and we are going to have a deep dive into it. We have a hard stop tonight because I have got classes, so we're going to hopefully get everything in and questions answered and finish at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much for your patience. Jenny, I believe you had a couple of questions that from yesterday.
I've got one from yesterday that wasn't covered, and that was from Christine Bowles. And something Christine asked, which I think is really common, is she says, how do you stay in the moment when you're competing in the ring? She said, because what she finds is she's doing hill work and then she starts thinking about the next exercise, or she starts thinking about the next round she's going to do later on in the day. And really common, and it's something that I used to do a lot. I used to obsess about a difficult bit that was coming up in the hill work, or I'd obsess about worrying about the retrieve is my weak exercise, and I'd be thinking about, is he going to do the retrieve when I was in hill work? So I think staying in the moment, this is where visualization is massive. And you honestly can train your mind, which is what the whole of this whole week is about, how we train our minds to be able to work in a more positive way for us. And visualization makes a huge difference to that type of thing. And it's very much, this will take me back to when I used to do some very, very low level show jumping, and we were taught to always think about the jump that was ahead of you until you took off, and then and only then did you think about the next jump, and you took them one jump at a time. And it's very similar to this, and definitely without a shadow of a doubt, visualization is really important. And we'll get more into self-talk and so on, but if you think to yourself, I start worrying about something that's going to come up on the next exercise, what often happens is, because you're not in the moment of what you're doing, you're making an error on something that is normally not a problem for you, because you're obsessing and worrying about another bit that's coming up. And when you do your visualization, you need to run through it all in your head and feel it as it is. So feel that you're doing a good left turn, feel that you're doing a good position on the move. Feel every part of that exercise, because if you just allow yourself to run and your mind to just run, then you'll make easy mistakes worrying about something else that's coming up. So visualization, Chris, actually is where I would say to go. And this is something that I think Kamal shared a little clip about a video that we've done on visualization, and we talked really momentary about it in there. But visualization is huge. Really, really helps you train your mind to stay in the present. So that's where I'd say.
Yeah, another little tip that I will do is I'll recite a phrase. So for example, be present, be connected. Be present, be connected. So when I find my mind wandering, and I think that's something that happens to a lot of people, I remind myself, be present, be connected. And the other thing that I also do is give myself instructions for what I'm doing at the time. So obviously I compete with multiple dogs at present, and I have to remind myself, who are you working? What's their cues? Who are you working? What's their cues? And when I'm competing, I have specific words and phrases that have been refined to tell me how to handle that particular moment, that turn, etc. So for example, it would be, if I put myself in Gurley's headspace, and I would have physical triggers. So my hand position changes to connect with that dog. It's slightly different for each of my dogs that I'm handling. So that instantaneously creates a trigger for me. I play around with my length stride. That again is a trigger. And then I give myself instructions. So shorten in, indicate, etc. So I've refined that. So my shortening in or short, indicate, place, step are just singular words. They're instructions, but they mean something to me. So short means shorten the stride to ready the dog, place the foot, etc. So I've condensed my phrases. So that is another technique that I use that to help me stay connected and not let my mind wander. So when I hear the steward say left turn, I by default will respond with my instructions to myself as I'm competing. When I move to the next test, I remind myself distance control. Who's the dog? So I'll say DC, Gurley, set up words, etc. So they're little prompts for me. So that's another thing that you can do. So topic of our conversation today is, Jenny, leading in
confidence again, but rebuilding awareness and reframing. So this is something, again, people think you have to be automatically naturally confident. No, you don't. You really do not need to be naturally confident to do any dog sport. It is definitely a skill that can be trained and maintained. So I think one of the things that knocks an awful lot of people's confidence is when they get something negative said to them by somebody at a show, somebody in a competition. It may be a bystander, it may be a judge, but somebody says something that hits a bit of a raw nerve for you. And it might be that it was well-meaning. It's not always that people, mean ill, but it's something that that can really knock you. And I'm incredibly sensitive. People who don't know me don't think I'm very sensitive. They see me as being quite loud and brash and, you know, confident. I can promise you, if anybody doesn't know me, I'm incredibly sensitive. And if it is something to do with my dogs, I'm even more so. So for me, it's a real Achilles heel if anybody says anything negative about me and my dogs. I don't really care about me, but I care about if the fact that there's anything to do with my dog, and you know. So I'm gonna give you a little example of part of my learning curve as a naturally sensitive person has come from. And most of you will probably have seen my Chance, which was my first ever champion, my first ever time at Crufts. Actually, that's him there. When we went to Crufts, we had a great time at Crufts. We didn't get placed, we came 7th, but he was absolutely awesome and everything I'd hoped he'd be. And we had an absolute ball. And the video of his round went viral. It went viral. It's gone all over the world. It's got something like 4 million views. But there was a lot of negativity also. I mean, I say a lot. There was an awful lot of comments, and there is no way you're going to get 100% positive comments. You're just not going to get them. So there were lots and lots of positive comments. They were overwhelmingly more positive than there were negative, but there were some pretty cruel negative comments. And understandably, they really upset me. And what I actually did as a result is I didn't watch his video. I never really watched his video after the first few weeks at Crufts, because I didn't really like seeing the negativity that was there. And it did upset me. So I just used to avoid watching in the end. And then I happened to lose him that year as well. He was only 8. So March was Crufts, and I lost him in December. And I definitely didn't look at the video after that. So I think the thing for me is that was really, really hurtful. But it was people who didn't know us, you know. Some of the obedience community actually went on and tried to support me on there as well, which was just lovely. But it's very hard in those situations not to, you know, especially when you're inexperienced, not to relive those words and rehear those words. And you know, they can sit in the back of your mind and sit in your head. Anyway, that was 2013. That was 12 years ago now. And, you know, there is an awful lot of stuff. You know, it's all part and parcel of dog sports. You are always going to get some negativity, even when it's not meant to be negative. You will always get it. And as part of dog sports, we need to learn how to deal with that. So when it came to Teo, again, most of you will know with Teo that he had an accident, and it was suspicious whether he'd ever walk again after this accident. So he'd qualified for ticket in obedience. He'd won a ticket. Then he had this accident. And at the beginning, I was, you know, very much, I don't care if this dog, I don't care. The work was irrelevant. You know, I didn't care. I just wanted him to have a good quality of life. I wanted him to be able to run with the girls again. I genuinely didn't give a stuff about whether I'd ever work him again or not. And all the experts all said to me, you'll never work this dog again. We'll just have to see if we can get him walking. He may never have to be able to go off lead. And that was my sole, you know, objective. I remember having a conversation with Kamal actually when it happened. And the other end of the phone, he was like, oh shit, Jen, oh God, oh that's awful. Everything's just, you know, gone. Let's hope he can at least walk. And it was, you know, and I was like, I don't care. I just don't care about the work. I just want him to walk. He was a similar age to Chance when I lost him as well. He was maybe a year younger. And, you know, the ribbons, they really don't matter when it comes to stuff like that. The ribbons don't matter. The trophies don't matter. Whenever you lose a dog, especially if you lose a young dog, you know, you'd give it all back. You'd give all of those achievements back just to keep your dog with you for a bit longer. So it was, you know, it relived an awful lot of upset and trauma really for me. Anyway, fast forward, I've got a fantastic rehab vet, absolutely amazing rehab vet. I threw myself into his rehab. That's what I did. It was like, well, I want to get this dog walking again. It became all about Teo's rehab. It's always been all about Teo in many ways, actually. And I just threw myself into it. So fast forward about, I don't know, 6 months. It was very, very slow progress. He managed to walk again. He was wobbly, slow, still no ideas of, you know, ever being able to work him again. It wasn't even really in my head. And I worked really hard. My physio vet's amazing, and she saw him 3 times a week. And gradually, really gradually, my dog started to come back. He was able to have a nice life. He was able to go off lead and run with the girls. And then my thoughts started to turn a little bit to, well, because he loves working. And I was like, but is it fair on him? It doesn't really matter. Is it fair on him? I spoke to my vet, my rehab vet, and she was like, Jen, you know, don't forget he also gets some really good muscle from working. So she was great. She was very objective. She was very, very cautious. I spoke to some others. I know Kamal was like, oh, Jen, do you really want to go there? And I was like, well, I don't know. But, you know, there's maybe a possibility. I spoke to some other people. So what we decided was we take it a day at a time. So day at a time, it was done. Every step was not pushing Teo any further than he could manage. And we do a bit. I send the video. We do a bit. She'd see him 3 times a week anyway. And actually, he started to come back in. I had my heart in my mouth most of the time. If he ran out on a send away, I'd panic. It really was traumatic. I look back now and I go, Jen, why did you even do it? Why did you do it? But I think for me, there was an element of let's just see how far he wants to go. He's going to guide it. We're going to be totally guided by him. And he did come back. He did come back. He came back. He was the most joint top dog. Became an obedience champion. Won 6 tickets in a year. Was amazing. But what I had to deal with was the negativity. And again, it was quite similar, really, to what I had with Chance, in that there were people very quick to go, he looks lame, he doesn't look right, because they knew what happened to him. And I had to really dig deep, and I knew coming back in, and actually one of my very good friends said to me, Jen, you do know if you work this dog again, you're going to have people waiting to stick the knife in. And I said, I know, but I'm doing what I think is right for me and my dog, and they'll just have to get on with it. Did that mean it didn't hurt when I heard things? No, of course it hurt. Of course it hurt. But I also had a lot of support from people that I didn't expect it to come from. There was a lot of people in our sport that were top handers, been in it for a long time, who would say to me, Jen, I'm really pleased to see you and him back together again. It's so lovely seeing you back in the ring again. And then some of them messaged me and said, I've been through not the same accident, but a long-standing injury that they'd had to work hard to get through. And actually, it meant so much to me, but it would have been really easy to let myself be downtrodden by the less well-meaning people. And sometimes people would make a comment, and they were well-meaning. They really were well-meaning. And I used to go back to Tamsin, which was the rehab vet, and I'd go, Tam, look, and I used to get every single round I ever did with that dog was videoed. Because if anybody said to me, your dog wasn't sound, your dog this, your dog that, I could go back and I could say to her, somebody made a comment about him today. And she'd look and she'd go, nope, that's absolutely no problem. He's moving in this way, he's moving in that way. She'd pick it apart for me. And she was really good for my confidence. And she was a professional. This is somebody who deals with sports dogs and is very good at it as a professional. Was I going to listen to the naysayers, or was I going to listen to the professional? And ultimately I listened to the professional, and I still listen to the same professional, and she still sees him twice a week, and he's now nearly 12 years old. So he had a wonderful go, but it really could have been something that if I wasn't careful, I would never have done it, or I'd have beat myself up doing it. And I think for me, the biggest, most important thing was understanding that, and I did learn this with the Chance situation, is that there will always be comments. There will always be comments that you don't like, that hurt, that upset you. And you have to put those comments in perspective, because there will be an awful lot of good comments as well. And it can be very easy to grab hold of the negative ones and just stick with those. And having yourself surrounded by the right people is so important. You don't want people that say to you, oh, he looked great. Oh, he looked great. You want the people to be honest and objective, but it needs to be people that you can trust, because it needs to be the right community around you, the right little group around you, because you have to trust the people. You want people to be objective. You want people to be honest. And Kamal was very honest with me at the time. And he was very good at saying, oh, devil's advocate. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And I'd go, yeah, I've thought about it. Or no, it's something I'll consider. And that's where it is incredibly important to have the right people on side. And it's the same as, you know, I'm going to sidetrack a little bit, but if you compete sometimes and a judge will say to you, oh my God, that was a fabulous round. It can be tempting to get high on all the good stuff. But actually, if these people don't know you and your dog, they can be building you up, and there might actually be bits within that round that weren't great that you need to be objective about, and you need to work on, and you need to fill those gaps in. And I think looking at anything to do with what people say to you, don't be taken in by the negative stuff and hang on to that negative stuff. But equally, much as the nice stuff is lovely to hear, and take it, say that's very nice, thank you very much, but then take it with a pinch of salt and move on, because they're listening constantly to other people. You know, I get a lot of it with my group. They'll come in and they'll go, oh, Jenny, you know, the judge said so-and-so about my dog. And I'd go, don't worry about it. They don't know you and your dog. And sometimes they might say a positive, and sometimes it might be a negative. Sometimes it might just, they're trying to be objective. But I'm like, they don't know you and your dog. They don't know your journey. They don't know where you've come from. Take it with a pinch of salt. And I will say that for the real positive stuff, as well as I will the negative stuff. And I think the biggest thing here is keep your own counsel. Honestly, keep your own counsel and keep your safe community around you. And it might be, you know, we've got safe communities now. Both Kamal and myself have got safe online communities. We've got safe in-person communities, and we've got very good friends around us that we know that we can trust. And we always bounce stuff off each other, don't we, Kamal? And I know you've had some stuff along the way as well, along similar lines.
I think it's a natural path of when you you know, certainly embark on something like training a dog for dog sports, and you do it with there's several reasons. And just to highlight some pertinent points that certainly came out to me listening from that conversation with Jenny, or her telling her story of her two dogs. One is, as she said, you know, it's to take a balanced perspective when people, you know, criticize you, and when people, you know, are being overindulgent with you. Take both things in equal measures and take it with a pinch of salt. Surround yourself by the right people, a sense of community, a great coach, a great support system, people that you really trust, that are going to be truth bearers, that are going to be there to, you know, support you, sometimes give you, you know, some hard truths, etc., so that you can, they have you, and they have to be in your corner. You want people in your corner and have your best interest at heart. That's really critical. And sometimes that does mean some honest feedback. Sometimes that means a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes it means a safe space to land. All the above are applicable. When, you know, it's very easy, you know, certainly, you know, a lot of the stuff I do is quite, you know, obviously I've been part of television programs, and I very consciously pull my head above the parapet in terms of how I train my dogs. And that can get me drawn into discussions and debates with people from opposing viewpoints. And I very intentionally stay out of those dialogues, because they don't bring me any peace of mind. I don't think they're healthy, and they can also, you know, make you question, or, you know, have a doubt and lack of confidence. Certainly two big things that we were talking about this, you know, that really was definitely a test of my mental strength and mental game, or would be not necessarily competing. One was when I formed an organization called Because. And Because is the British Competitive Obedience Society. It was an organization that I formed with very close friends of mine, in that we are essentially a breakaway organization in obedience, the dog sport of obedience. And at the time, and we founded it in 2013, so that was quite a big year for both Jenny and I in different ways, but 2013, and we were heavily criticized, both on a professional level about why is this organization even being created, and also a very personal level. And it was from people that, you know, surprised me, disappointed me, people that I would have considered, you know, friends. And that was the bit that you have to be able to, you know, rebuff those criticisms and stay true to who you are. So when it comes to dog sports, in part, you have to stay true to who you are and know who you are. You know, we talked yesterday about the why, which we're going to go into later on this week. But I knew that my intentions were good. I knew that I had the people, everybody involved, had the same vision, the same agenda. We wanted to do something that showed what could be. And ironically, it's actually influenced a lot of the sport now, you know, 12 years on. So that was something that really was about my mental game, because it was really impactful and it made me really question whether I wanted to even, partake in the sport, because I very much felt like it felt like nobody wanted me there as an individual. When I looked at it objectively, I actually realized it was individual people's fear of change and things that are different. So it wasn't necessarily about me per se. And now 12 years moving forward, a lot of the ideas and principles and things that we came up with in BCOS have now been sort of integrated into mainstream obedience, which for me was always the agenda and always the win. So that I'm incredibly proud of. And it just shows really to stand true to who you are. The other experience I had where it was about mental strength and being focused was, again, similar experience, was with my boxer Punch. I had massive, great plans and ambitions. And this is where, we use the mantra, or the phrase, plans should be set in sand and goals should be set in stone. And, Punch was a dog that from a very young age, 4 months, he was plagued with injuries, physical injuries, which really prevented him from doing all the things that I had aspirations for. And what actually happened with Punch was a dog that I wanted to do IGP. Well, IGP is a European dog sport that it's a bit like canine triathlon, and there's a obedience phase, a tracking phase, and a protection phase where they do bite work. And he was a dog that, his father was a world champion. He was purpose bred for that. And I had all these major ambitions and aspirations. And as I was going through the journey with him, it was very much a test of mental strength, because it was very much, I'd make a step forward and then I'd knock back, not just 2 steps, but 4 steps or 5 steps. And then I'd find my way back and I'd be back on the path and boom, he'd be injured again. And it was just the way his life was very much was. And he was injured for an extended period of time. We eventually came back from all that, and I attempted his BAH. Now, BAH is, in the terms of IGP, it's a very beginning level. It's quite a big test, but it's a very preliminary stage of the ladder, so to speak. And I was so confident going into that he would do it fine, no problem at all. And there was a lot of things that run up to him competing. I was teaching at a camp. And on the last day of the camp, I took my dogs out and he was absolutely belting down. And I think that, in truth, looking back in hindsight, I think he aggravated one of his injury. And I saw him come back. I thought, he's not quite right. And I just thought at the time it was my self-doubt and self-talk talking myself out of it, thinking I had this competition the next day. I was just psyching myself out. I went off to do the competition and it was an absolute disaster. I think I've shared it on YouTube on my one of my groups and showed, what a disaster it was. And obviously at the time I was really, disappointed. I'd done all this work. The dog I thought was well and fit, etc. And I remember a very close friend of mine, a very good friend of mine who does IGP, messaging me how I got on. And I said, oh no, he absolutely blew out. And he thought I was joking. He thought, he didn't believe me. And I was like, no, really, it was an absolute disaster. The dog did X, Y, and Z. I'm literally patting him round and he's sniffing the ground and all this stuff. Anyway, very long story short, he then messaged me the next day and he said, how are you feeling? Obviously, that was quite a knock. And I said, determined. I sent him back one word and the word was determined. And what I'd done in that 24 hours is I had gone from feeling, oh my God, this is awful, where is me? It's a disaster. The dog's never, to going, okay, what can I do? And again, like with you, when she was talking about Tao, it's rather than focusing on the negatives, going, right, what can I control? What can I do? First thing is I contacted my physio. I was like, can you have a look at this dog? I think there's something, obviously he's aggravated injury. First thing. Second thing was implementing a plan to get him back. And as it happened, he had aggravated very minimally, but enough because he was a very physically sensitive dog because of the issues he had, that it was definitely the thing that was contributing to the problem. Worked through that issue. Right. Okay. Let's get him again, rehab the dog, etc. Long story short, I did the BH again and he did it absolutely. I mean, I still say to this day, that is one of my greatest accomplishments. And although it's, in the grand scheme of things I've done, it would probably by a lot of people be perceived as trivial. To me, and this is really critical, it has to be about you and your dog and your journey. That is by far one of the things I'm most proud of. So in terms of confidence and reframing, it would be easy to look at those situations with dogs that have been injured as, okay, that's it, I'm out now, my cards have been dealt, and etc. And it's okay to feel that in the moment, and to feel the emotion that's, and disappointment.
Yeah.
But then start to shift your mind, and this is about reframing, to things that you can do. What's in your control? Access experts, lean on people that you trust and that are supportive, etc. And use them to help you move forward. And that's really, really critical. Obviously, it's really easy sometimes to, even people that say things with good intentions that can get inside your head.
Yeah.
And again, developing, stock phrases to rebuff those well-intended comments is really, really good skill. So, if you've been
I always threw mine back to my professional. I always, because I just went, oh well, I said, that's fine. My vet sees him 3 times a week, so she'll soon let me know if she sees anything that was a problem. Yeah. And I threw that back, because it wasn't about, then it was never about me arguing it. It was never me saying, oh, actually he's sound, or he's this, or he's that. I could just say, well, that's right, it's just, my rehab vet. So I threw mine back to the professional all the time, and people couldn't really argue it.
Yeah,
that's where I dealt with it.
And that avoids the conflict, that avoids the confrontation, that avoids the song and dance discussion of that. And, again, I always say, that's, I appreciate, thank you, I'll look into that. Or, I mean, again, classic when people certainly obedience, or again, in IGP, you have to stand there and receive a critique. Take it with good intentions, but don't necessarily let it be the governing force that dictates whether good or bad. Always be objective about your own training and your own goals. Talking about reframing, what are things that, let's talk us through a couple of examples. So if in the comments, if you want to put down something that you might have been told, or something that you currently think, and let's see if we can form some reframes on that. So Jenny, do you have anything that you've intentionally reframed in your mind, something that could undermine your confidence, and how or you've reframed it?
How I've dealt with it really is if I've heard something that I think is not particularly conducive to what I'm about to do, especially if it's something like going in the ring, and sometimes you hear something before you go in. There's a couple of things that I'll do. One thing is, if somebody's talking negative about their own dog, I'll move away from them. So I will make an excuse and go. So that it's not really reframing, but it is reacting in a positive way to something that could affect me otherwise. So I don't want to hear negativity before I walk in a ring. And stays were a classic. If I was stood outside the stay ring and somebody came out to me and said, when we used to do them, my dog's just broken his stay, I'd make an excuse and go. I didn't want that in my head before I went in with my own dog. But the other thing that would, for me, if there was something said to me at a show, for example, I'd imagine it written down on a piece of paper, scrunched up in a ball and put in my bag. So I would go, I'll deal with that later, because at that moment in time, I don't want to be dealing with any of that sort of stuff. And it's a little bit like earlier when you said, sometimes you've got to you let yourself feel it. We're not going to be inhuman. You can't be inhuman about anything that happens. But what you can do to move on from it is to say, I'll deal with that later. Let yourself feel it. For me, it's always looking for a plan. Every single time I go, it's happened, I need to deal with it. And I'll get it off my chest and rant and rave about it for a little bit to good friends. And then I'll make a plan about how I'm going forward. So mine's always about, once I've got a plan, I'm happy. I don't like the bit where I feel like I'm wallowing around, not knowing where I'm going to go next. Give me a plan. Let me formulate a plan. Let me suss a plan. And then I go, that's happened. That's in the past. I've dealt with it. Now I'm going to move on and go forwards with what I'm going to do from here on in. Because there's always a way you can deal with stuff. Even when you're dealt a really bad hand. I had it with Ava, didn't I? When Ava was diagnosed with cancer. And my way of dealing with that was, I'm going to research. I'm going to throw everything at it that I've got. And then whatever's going to happen, she was given 1 to 3 months to live. I'm going to throw everything at it, because then I know I've given it my best shot. And I think this is sometimes the temptation is to go, well, I am still going to do it. I am still, and if you can then set yourself up. And I think that's another consideration. If you set yourself up to say, like, if you've done it with Punch, or I've done it with Teo, that's it, we're going to make them up and we're going to make them champions and we're going to do this. And actually, it might be that you achieve that. It might be that you don't achieve that, but they're no lesser in achievement. And for me, I think it's going one step at a time, because sometimes you can only go one step at a time. And I knew the outcome. I knew what the outcome was going to be. It was a 1 to 3 month prognosis. I didn't know. I was just hoping for more time, and I wanted to know I'd thrown everything at it that I could. And when her time come, I could say I did everything I could. I didn't sit back and just let it happen and wallow in depression. And, was I upset? Of course I was. It was terrible at the beginning. But then I went, get a grip. Get a grip. This is for your dog, and you've got to get a grip and be positive. It may not make any difference, but you've got to give it your best shot. And actually, I don't know, 3 years. Unbelievable. But yeah, sorry. I've got off on one again, off of my emotional thing again. But yeah.
Okay. So there's a couple of common phrases that you consistently hear as a coach. I've coached countless people in various sports, and there's definitely common things. One is to do with their role in the process, i.e., I'm not good enough, I let my dog down. My handling, whether it be agility, obedience, IGP, working trials, Mondio, it doesn't matter, my handling, people talking about their role. Feeling, the other thing that they is, I'm not good enough, I'm not quick enough,
yes,
I'm not
classic.
Classic things. So there's a couple of people comment. I'll come back to those in a second. So classic things that people say to themselves, which, and I'm always saying to people that I coach, be careful of the things that you say to yourself, because words matter, and the things that you're saying to yourself will go into your psyche and your mind. So I'm very much about reframing. It's okay. So let's look at this. If you said, if you're a person that is working on your ability to run fast and navigate an agility course, that is a skill that you need to develop. If you are on the beginning process of learning, to run an agility course, I know it can be quite intimidating and daunting to not only, get around the right route, remember the course pattern, remember the words, remember the handling, etc., etc. It can feel as though it's never going to happen. And I'm such a rubbish handler. And classic, if so-and-so had this dog would be amazing. So pump the brakes. It isn't about other people and so-and-so having a dog. And if you had the dog and so-and-so, if Jenny had the dog, it'd be amazing. Blah, blah, blah. Come on, have the dog. Rubbish. Okay. It's your dog. We're going to empower you to move forward. So first thing is, rather than saying what you're not doing, say, how I would reframe it, I should say, would be to say, I'm a committed handler and I love my dog. The love for my dog will drive me to find and develop the skills that I need to grow to be the best handler for my dog. That's a reframe. It's not kidding yourself and saying I'm amazing, and that's being disingenuous, and that's definitely that can also create a lot of anxiety when you know that you're just trying. It's all about having a fabulous time.
Just come out.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be truthful, and what you're doing with a reframe is you're empowering yourself, saying, you know what, I know that I need to improve for my dog, and I'm committed to making that happen, and I'm a work in progress, and that in itself is going to fill me with a realistic a reframe that also will lift me up. Another example is where people will say, for example, I'm trying to think of where they will undermine their own ability, for example. So from a training point of view, so he's not very good at that, or the dog has a problem on that exercise. Again, that's a classic thing. If the dog has a weak, whether it be, he's not very good at weaves, or he's not a great scent dog, or he's not a good send away dog. If you lean into that and into competing, that's where your mind's going to go. Your intention's going to be focused on that piece of the puzzle. So it's really important to focus on, my dog is brilliant on these exercises. He's really good on that entity. Those, we're working on those. We're going to make those better. We are developing our skills to make us stronger. Exactly. So think about the words that you use when you talk about things that, that you feel a lack of confidence around. So there is a couple of things.
Sorry, and I think the thing there to remember is, because it does take time, and it takes time to build new habits, always, with anything. So if you feel yourself making your old style comment, don't beat yourself up about it. It might come in two parts initially. You don't expect to go from always saying things in your old voice and going, I still can't say it in the right voice, I still can't say the right thing. that's where you've got to accept it is a process, and it will take some time to retrain. So if it comes out your mouth, because very often with these things, they come out of people's mouths. They don't think about it first. It just comes straight out your mouth. If it comes straight out your mouth, don't beat yourself up. Just then follow it up with a more positive one. Oh, well, so-and-so happened. But do you know what? Actually, I think that went really well. Finding your positive to come out with afterwards. So don't accept that it will take you some time to change and to grow. Absolutely. So that's another thing, just on that, before we go back onto any questions. Understand that it will take a little bit of time to change habits of a lifetime. And you can follow up a negative with a positive, which still means you're progressing in the right direction.
Yeah. So I've been told I'm anxious when I know when I know I am, but I'm trying to hide it from my dog. And so she'll feed off it, which clearly I don't want them to do. We're struggling with reframing to be calm and positive. So first thing is to acknowledge that you don't have to be calm and positive. You can say that you can own the fact that you are, and the phrase that we use is nerve excited. I'm nervous excited about going in the ring. And that then alleviates the need to be disingenuous of going, I've got to be calm and poised. It's a bit, I always equate this to dogs. You know, it's a bit like saying to your dog, you have to be constantly calm, and the dog is clearly not calm. It's very excited. You know, it's not realistic. So first, own the fact that, you know what, I get apprehensive. That's fine. So there's techniques that you can use. You can work on your breathing. There's box breathing, 4 in, breathe in for 4, hold the breath for 4, exhale for 4, and repeat that cycle where you can help regulate your breath. Start visualizing and connecting. If you find your mind, I always say this with people with reactive dogs, if you find your mind catastrophizing or thinking the worst, ground yourself. So for example, you would say things like, okay, I am in my living room and I have a purple t-shirt on, black trousers, and I'm wearing blah, blah, and describe it. What that does, it brings your mind back to center and connects you with what's happening in the present. Third thing is, ask yourself what it is, and this takes a level of honesty. Why are you nervous? What is it that you feel that you or your dog are not prepared for, that you are not ready for, that you are not capable of doing or mastering, etc.? And be truthful and going, can I make this better? For me, the antidote to nerves and apprehension is training my dogs to the best of my ability to give me the confidence that I've covered all bases. We talked about preparation and planning yesterday. And that would be a key aspect of it. So those simple things can give you the confidence and empower you that you don't have to remain in a state of apprehension and anxiety, but move towards confidence and empowerment and giving you stock phrases. Again, there's a follow-up question which talks about people coming to your bubble. We'll come on to that in a second. But when you are feeling apprehensive, ask yourself the question, if not you, then who? If it's not your time to shine, then who is more worthy, or who should this be happening to? And I always offer that to people that have self-doubt. If not you, then who? So why not? Why should you not be the person that's successful? Why should you not be the person that gets the qualification? Why should it not be you that gets the first place or the qualifier or the clear round? Why? If not you, then who? Okay. So
I think we need to normalize. We absolutely need to normalize feeling nervous. I feel nervous when I compete. Anybody on here feel nervous when they compete? Stick a heart. Stick a little heart on the comments. Who feels nervous when they compete? It's normal. It's normal whether somebody looks nervous or doesn't look nervous. It's normal, and it's having the skills to be able to turn those nerves into something positive when you compete.
Do you know what? I don't think I'd get nervous. I don't think I'd do it if I didn't get nervous.
I agree with you. Because it wouldn't matter. It means it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I've
got to get that little
if it didn't mean anything to you, there's something that there is something that it means something to you if you get nervous. For sure, it's a biggie for me. The more confident you are in your dog's training, the less you have to worry about. Without a shadow of a doubt. We talked about it yesterday. It's never just about us. It's also always about us, but also the dog beside us. It's got to be. We can't just say it's all about us. We we have to accept that it's two sides of it. And certainly for me, when I walk in that ring and I'm in with the dog and I know that maybe my dog's not quite ready to win that class, but I might have a particularly good judge for us. It might be a particularly good round. And I might say, do you know what? I am going to have a little go today. Would I be likely to feel a little more nervous that day? Yes. Compared to the day that I go in and I go, I know my dog's really ready to win now, and I'm just going to keep competing, and obviously until we get out the classes. But I know they're ready for this level. And like Kamal said, you've got to have a certain amount of honesty, because it is understanding when things are, the dog is actually very well trained for something and has a strong understanding or not. We've got another question from Kath. Question from Kath. How do you deal with people talking to you when you are trying to concentrate on your dog? This is another one that's really, really common. I always have phrases that are ready, so you don't have to think about it spur of the moment. And I would say to people, I'm really sorry, I'm getting ready, just about to get ready to go in the ring. And then people, to be fair, I always find if you say that to people when you're trying to concentrate on your dog at a show and you feel really rude, everyone goes, oh yeah, no problem. They all understand it, actually. Yeah. If you're out and about in public, training in public, I'm really bad for ignoring people in public. I don't give a stuff. I'll just ignore them because my dog comes first. Yeah. Or if I were going to talk to them, if I were anywhere near doing something, finishing off doing something with my dog, I may mark the dog, reinforce them, and then turn and talk to the person. But I'd never, ever put that person ahead of my dog's focus on me and my focus on them. But at a show, have a stock phrase, Kath. I'm really sorry, I'm about to get ready to go. I'm about to go in the ring. Or I'm really sorry, I'm just about to do so. Have a stock phrase, because then you ain't got to think. Having a stock phrase gives you ammunition ready for those situations.
And I'll tell you a little cheat that I do, a little tip. I wear glasses, dark glasses. Yes. It means I don't have to make eye contact with people. So if somebody talks at me, look past or through or away and make eye contact. So then I can effectively, not get into a dialogue with them. I'm pretty good at people like creating that's experience. I can look in a direction, but look past or through, and not to be rude. And I want to really by that. It's not to be rude, because once I'm not training in that moment, I'm more than happy to come back and retrospectively pick up that conversation. And obviously people will, with good intentions, will ask you, Kamal, could you do this, or ask you comments about their dog, or want input.
I go back to people after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't you find that you become, even without the eye contact thing, I always think I've got a real resting bitch face when I'm at a show and concentrating on my dog. I really, really have. And I think people don't really, I think you get used to being so engrossed in what you're doing as well, that it makes it really clear you're involved in your dog. And I think that has to become real as well. Real, that you go, actually, my dog comes first. It's more about my dog than it is about anybody else. And I'm not going to worry about being polite left, right, and center. It's about my dog. My dog has to come first. And I think the more that you can get into being into your dog, actually, the more you give that off as well. But I've always got glasses on, so yeah.
That's a sneaky tip there. Okay, so Yvonne said, I tend to stay in my own bubble at shows, have a walk around with the show with my dog, have a play and stay in my own thoughts. Only when I'm not with him do I chat. Yeah, really, really great advice there. I'm very social. To me, being social is part of how I deal with my nerves and my apprehension. So I like to be social, what I call a social butterfly. Obviously, I have a lot of dogs. So by the time I get all my dogs out and do a bit of training and play with them and walk them, I tend to stay away from the melee of things that might cause me to get wound up. I tend to stay away from the rings. It doesn't suit me and suit my mindset. But I like to be social because it keeps me from focusing too intently and overthinking things. But it's really important to find what works for you. There's many ways. In the past, I've been very isolated and taken myself off and really put myself in that bubble. I did that in the early part of my career to develop the skills to quieten out the noise, the white noise, and then refine it where now I can essentially turn it off and on. But it takes practice, and that's the key thing.
Yeah.
If you're new to this, again, start in places where you feel comfortable, even when training groups, right, I'm going to train my dogs, and get yourself in that headspace and zone. And the thing I'd also say is, certainly what I've found is people that approach me tend to do it from a place of, genuine. They're not being difficult.
No, that's right.
Oh, come on, could I just ask you this? Or could I inquire about a seminar? Could I, whatever. They're doing it from a great place. And I'm very, I normally say to them, I'll get back to you. I'm just going to go and take the dog in the ring. I'm due in next. And as Jenny said, most people are kind, and they give you.
Yeah, they are.
Just about communication. Katrina says, if you're not nervous, if I'm not nervous, it does not matter. Absolutely, I'd agree. So a couple of points. Luby Lou, my problems are not so much nerve because I know that's normal and can use it. Mine is more that I want it so badly. Overtrying is my worst enemy. It's very, very hard to reframe that in a positive way or to push it aside. Absolutely. Obviously, as Lou's coach, I absolutely know that's one of the things. The thing that we've discussed, and certainly I think it'd be interesting to hear Jenny's take on this, is just focus on confidence, running your own race, and just do one step at a time. Just focus on the one step. Often when you have a mentality where you want it so badly and you try too hard, it's because you're constantly thinking about the goal, rather than just going, just do the work. Carry water, chop wood. Carry water, chop wood. Just do the thing time and time again. So if, for example, if you equate it to, if, you want to, exercise or get fitter or run a marathon, there's no point thinking about the marathon. Just go out and do the work. Keep your eyes on the prize. Any thoughts on that, Jenny? For the person that tries too hard.
Yeah. And I think then it becomes something that's so big in the mind that it's hard to concentrate on the everyday stuff. And I always say, run your own race. It's a biggie of mine. Run your own race. And there is no hurry. Where's the fire? Where's the fire? And I think that's a big one. It's really common for people to want to get there as soon as they can. And there's nothing wrong with having a great big goal at all. Yep. But there's no hurry to get there. And I think that's a really important one, especially when you've still got a young dog. I understand a little bit more the hurry if you've got an older dog and you're like, I don't know if we're ever going to manage it because the dog's getting a little bit older now. I understand that one a little bit more. But most of the time, this is just a mentality of somebody who wants it that bad, but they want it now. And it's about the patience side. It's actually about having the patience enough to go, yep, that's sitting there at the top of my mountain. And I've got to go through all of these bits. I can't be a Ghostbusters with my backpack on and get me up to there. I've got to walk my way up that mountain, and I've got to get there step by step. And I think that's
what a bit there, Jenny. Ghostbusters. Okay? Anybody remember Ghostbusters?
You know Ghostbusters.
I'm too young, Jenny. Give me a thumbs up if you've heard of Ghostbusters. There should be no thumbs up. You're just old. Right, let's move on. So let's have a look. Just mindful of time. So Wendy Barkhouse said, I was told once that I did not deserve a score that I'd gotten. This was when I first started competing, which was 10 years ago. It stuck with me and wreaks havoc with my confidence. So the phrase I would say to that is, what other people think or say to you is none of your business. So let people say what they want to say. Run your own race. Do you. And don't worry about what somebody that, and often it's people that don't know you, don't know your experience, don't know your journey. And if it is somebody that knows you, I always think people project. They always say things when they, so for me, the person that said, oh, you didn't deserve that score, is probably thinking to themselves, God, I wish my dog would work like that. And I wish, because that's the score that I wish I had. So think about reframing it. And when people, with good intentions or bad intentions, send or give you criticism, I always try and reframe that in terms of, that's not about me, it's about you. That's your stuff, not me. Thank you very much. That's not my that's not my stuff, that's you. If somebody says, oh, you shouldn't, I shrug my shoulders and go, well, I'm not the judge. It's not my opinion that matters.
And you know what? You can also reread that and say, I didn't deserve a score I'd gotten. Well, that could be you didn't deserve a high score. Like you didn't deserve to get penalized left, right, and center for something. So it goes the other way as well. Sometimes you don't. And some people, another one, this is along a similar vein, Wanda, but sometimes people will say, I didn't deserve to win that class. I know I didn't. It's only because somebody else's dog messed up ahead of me. There were 3, we were in 4th place and then we won it only because the other dogs messed up the last exercise. And they say, I didn't deserve to win that one. Yes, you did deserve to win that one, because at the end of the day, you won it on the day, you were the best on the day. And there'll be another day where your dog does everything amazing and you will get a score that you didn't deserve. But it'll be a higher score or a lower score, depending on which sport you're doing. So that can go both ways. It really can.
Yeah. Okay, last couple of comments, everybody, because I'm just mindful of time. So since 1976, I love to compete. I have what will be my last sports dog now. It's hard to reframe negative things when you're old, in pain, slow, and physically and mentally, but the dog is great. So I'm going to offer this to you. If you are still doing it after all that time, then it must be passion and desire and the love of the game that drives you. So despite all the things that you've said, and the first thing I say to you, stop talking about what you aren't doing. You are still standing. You are still here. You still have the ability to play the game. To me, that in itself is something to be celebrated. I have a lot of people that I teach that are older, and I'm constantly saying to them, as long as you can do it, do it. It's the thing that feeds your joy. It's the thing that keeps you going. A friend of mine.
Then I've got rheumatoid arthritis. And sometimes I struggle to run. Sometimes I do struggle to run, but it'll never stop me doing what I want to do. It will not stop me doing what I want to do. And I think that's the thing to remember when I go and see my consultant and I say, oh no, I'm doing fine. And he says to me, Jenny, you've got so much inflammation in so many joints. And he said, I've got people with less inflammation than you sitting in wheelchairs. And he said, but I can tell you now what you do is what makes all the difference to you keeping going, and it will forever. So Kamal is right. He absolutely is. So I come at it from I'm going to say incapacitated, position. Kamal's not. He's at the gym all the time and he's fit as a flea. I'm not, actually. Don't let it hold you back. And as he said, you clearly don't let it hold you back. So good on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So just reading through the comments. So let's have a look at this one. So somebody said they know Ghostbusters. So I'm going to concede on that one. Katie Girdler said, I've always had big goals, but with the present dog, I've really enjoyed and marked all the smaller wins along the way. And to be honest, I'm enjoying our journey the most. And that is a fantastic way, attitude to have. I mean, Katie's a fantastic dog trainer. And the journey with her dog is something to be honest, it's inspiring to watch. So I celebrate Katie. What is her? Let's have a look at just one more. Kate said, although I'm improving, I'm struggling with negative what if thoughts, which comes out as hypervigilance. Me, not dog, in the ring. They always are negative what ifs, but I keep trying to reframe, and perseverance definitely is paying off. Absolutely. It is definitely something like everything, mental strength, mental tenacity, your mental game, like everything, has to be worked at. It has to be, you have to put the work in, and it is something that you have to take ownership of. And if you are lacking the skills, then that's where these lives all this week are going to be able to help you develop those skills. And if you have any questions or comments, by all means, share them wherever you see these. If you pick this up retrospectively, and we will pick it up, just tag myself or Jenny in the post, and we will pick it up. So thank you, everybody, for your participation. Thank you for your patience at the beginning of this. Another thing, we've had lots of people ask, can they share these videos? Absolutely. Share them with wherever and with whomever you think they will benefit. And obviously, we'll read through the comments, pick up any things in the opening of tomorrow's live, which is at
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll be on the lives tomorrow, 6 o'clock, if there's any final questions. I'm just mindful of the time because I'm literally going now to classes, and we'll read through any questions. Pleasure having you.
Glass of wine.
Yeah. All right, all. Have a great evening.
Tomorrow.
Take care. Bye.